This is My Legacy. Today, we revisit our unforgettable conversation with Serita Jakes Roberts, a woman who has inspired millions by telling the truth about her struggles and her triumphs. From teen mom to best-selling author and global leader, Sarah reveals how to transform setbacks into strength. Let's dive in.
Sarah, we're truly honored to have you here today. And would you mind introducing to us your plus one, the person who knows you best and who has been with you on your life journey?
It is my honor and privilege to have my mother, Serita Jakes, joining us today. I could stop at just saying how much she means to me as my mother, but she is an incredible woman first. She is courageous and brilliant and vulnerable and strong. She's the glue of our family. And certainly throughout some of my most difficult seasons, I would say that she was the oil that got me unstuck when I was in some spots that I never thought I would get out of. So I'm just so honored that I get to share her with the world.
I know a little something, maybe, about being a preacher's kid.
Indeed.
But there obviously are additional dynamics when your parents are larger than life. And so, Mrs. Jakes, how did you help Sarah maybe become and navigate through those potential challenges that would come?
Well, when I think of a legacy, I was thinking today, you're looking forward, but you're also looking backwards. And when we got to this huge city, I did not realize that I was going to have to move to the forefront and that my children would be left alone without me hedging them on either side. And my mother died shortly after we got here. So in hindsight, I would have done what she does. She makes certain that her children are wherever she is. I wish I had done that more. And so seeing her overcome the lack of my presence to try to do it differently than I would have even thought to do is amazing to me.
I will say, though, even though you guys had a lot of responsibilities and a lot of things going on, I think one of the things that my mother did is that when she was present, she was completely present. You would let us sleep in the bed with you. We would always be doing dinner. Like, you'd have us running around doing errands with you. Like, I never felt like a burden to you.
Now, and Sarah, becoming a mom at 14, I'm sure that was a lot of judgment, a lot of pressure, expectations, especially when you look at it within the faith community, right?
Yeah.
So what do you remember around that in that moment, and how do you feel it shaped you and your legacy moving forward?
14 is such a young age to become a mother that I think to properly contextualize it, you have to understand that I was not afraid of being pregnant or having a baby. I thought I was going to get in trouble. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get grounded, or my parents are going to be so upset. It wasn't until I saw their response that I began to realize that this is much bigger than like you got in trouble, like your life has completely changed. But to my mom's credit, one of the things she told me, she's like, I didn't get rid of my babies. I didn't give them away. Whatever you decide to do, I'm going to stick with you every step of the way. And she did that. And man, there were so many moments where I felt like the pregnancy just solidified this idea that I don't belong in that family. So if you go back to that image of me as a little girl being confused and amazed, I think in that moment it was solidified, like, oh my goodness, you don't belong here. And so it became so easy for me to kind of move into the background. But I think in moving into the background that it also gave me an opportunity to discover my identity outside of my family name. It's like I'm already the black sheep. I'm already disconnected. Now I get to just kind of figure out who I am and what I want to do with my life. And though my life has certainly had some twists and turns, even since having the pregnancy, I found a real sense of being okay with myself without the validation of other people, because I'd lost it in many ways. And the moment that I began to really say, you know what, this is my story, I'm going to love it, I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to wake up each day and really do the best that I can, I began to see my life change for myself. And then the overflow of that kind of changed into this a touch point for other women who could relate to experiences like my own.
And so you didn't know at the time that you were practically battling with depression. Just you felt something was broken. And you've now been so open about others. You've helped others to create safe spaces. Our family, my wife's a psychologist. Our families battle those same issues. So when you look back and you reflect back in your own journey, what have you learned about mental health and what do you share with others?
I think that I learned really a lot about functioning depression and trying to achieve to cure depression. Um, there are so many pockets of my life that I feel like I don't remember because I was in such a fog of depression that there are just memories that I can't easily pull from. But what I have learned is whether we acknowledge where we are, especially when we're having harder emotions, whether we acknowledge it or not, it doesn't mean that it's not showing up in our actions, in our life in some way. And I think giving myself permission to feel, because I think when I first got pregnant and I realized by everyone else's response that this is something bad has happened, this is something that's wrong, I think I immediately shut down and just went into survival mode. And oftentimes when we're in survival mode, even in a physical experience, if we're having a car accident or something traumatic has happened to our bodies physically, sometimes we don't feel the pain because there's so much adrenaline, you're in the moment that you can't tell that you're bleeding. And I feel like mental health is very similar to that. The shock of the trauma that we have experienced can be so jarring that we don't even take the time to assess how we're showing up in the world and how that could be depression, it could be anxiety. And a lot of times it ends up showing in the choices we make to anesthetize those pains.
True.
And so I think that I have learned to really take a moment and ask myself, how did you feel after that happened? Whether it feels like it was an immature response or a mature response, I think it's important to really assess. I had a reaction to what just occurred, and it has allowed me to not just recognize the moments where I'm having a hard emotion like depression, like anxiety, but also to allow myself to experience joy. Because there are so many things that happen that are answers to prayers, that are dreams that we thought would never achieve. And we're so busy moving on to the next thing that we don't take a moment to really recognize, like, I'm already standing in a dream that I thought would never be. And so I am prayerful that part of what I get to pass down and maybe pass up, because I think the beauty of legacy is not just what we pass down, but we get to throw some things up, is this opportunity to allow yourself to take up space in your own world, to not just run your world and to function in your world, but to take up space, to allow yourself to be one of the main character in your story, and to give yourself permission to do that has been really helpful for me as I navigate what mental health looks like.
Well, let's talk about something that you wrote on Instagram. Because in your getting better and getting better and getting better, at one point you thought that you did not ever want to get remarried.
Oh, yeah.
But then someone changed your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what you wrote on Instagram. The vulnerability required to become one after you fought to become whole is not often discussed. I had to surrender my identity as a powerful single mother to discover my power as a married woman.
Yeah, nasty work. Here's the thing. I got to a space where I was healthy. I'd bought a home for me and my children, and I thought, this is the dream. Like, I thought that getting married and having the white picket fence was the dream. I saw that white picket fence just keep falling off over and over again. And I said, you know what, fine. I love being by myself. I'll travel the world. I'm still young. Everything will be fine. Then I met this man. And in meeting him, I loved the way the world looked through his eyes. It was a compliment to the way the world looked through my eyes, but it also had so much more vibrancy and color. And there was so much more care and depth for people and opportunities. And I thought to myself, I think that he would make me better. As we talk about this better. But I will say that I underestimated the transformation necessary for me to let go of the pride of being like, oh my gosh, I made it. I'm this, single mother who bought this house, and I can make good decisions, and I can take care of my family. I can bring home the bacon and fry it in a pan. And now I have someone who's like, hey, I could grab the pan, or hey, I could bring home the bacon. And I think I did have a sense of pride and identity connected to that. I never wanted to need a man again. I never wanted to feel like my life would fall apart if something happened. And I think in the resistance of oneness, that I could have lost out on the opportunity to experience the beauty of oneness. And so that took a lot of work. He's got some battle scars, God bless him. But my life, Woman Evolve wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him, because his ability to create space for me to dream and to believe in those dreams and to say they're not crazy, they're possible, gave me the courage to actually pursue them. So he's definitely been a North Star for me for many years now.
Next, Sarah talks about the messy middle, living in it and loving yourself through it. Like, follow, and share with someone you love to let them know you've got them, no matter where they are in their journey.
And Sarah, when I think of your ministry, when I think of Women Evolve, it has been built on this radical transparency. Like, you have redefined what it means to be a woman of faith based on radical transparency. Your past, your marriage, you're sharing your stories. Why, with Women Evolve, has it, and your entire ministry, why has vulnerability been so important? Why has it been so important for you to be this radically transparent with all those who look to you?
I don't know that I saw it as radical when it started. Like I said, I kind of thought that if I told people, they would be like, oh my goodness, we'll leave her alone and it won't be a thing. But the more that I realized how many of us are suffering in silence, the more I felt like if I can tell my story and it helps someone else, then I'll tell it one more time. And if it helps someone else, I'll tell it another time. And I think what I have learned is that through isolation, the darker voices, the harder voices, the meaner voices that we hear in our head, they're louder. And until you hear someone say like, hey, I felt that too, but I'm telling you, it wasn't always like that, or that I found a flicker, that it gives someone permission to start looking for light even in their dark seasons. And I didn't want to be in ministry. I didn't have this as like a goal in my heart. And so I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to at least be honest. I don't want anyone to ever be surprised that because I preached a message that I experienced depression, that I worked at a strip club. Like, I want you to know, like, this is what you're getting. It is not much, but I am going to give my best. I'm going to share my best. And if I make you feel less alone, then girl, we could grab arms and move towards better together. But I didn't want to live on a pedestal. I wanted to be able to, sometimes on my social media, I'll be like all glammed up, dressed up. Other moments I'll literally be snatching my wig off and washing my face. This is all of who I am. And I just don't want people to be connected to this caricature. I don't want to be trapped in my own life. And so for me, my honesty has been my freedom. My honesty has been the runway that allows me to not feel stuck in this life. And I think because of that, my prayer is that I'll continue to have endurance for what is ahead, because I don't have to figure out, how do I keep this mask up? How do I keep this facade going? My greatest question is, how do I continue to be honest in a way that reaches the most unlikely person? I think that people should know that it's all the messy middle. You know what I
Now
mean?
that's the mic drop.
Yeah.
Done.
That it's all the messy middle, that there is no there is no once I do this then, that once you get there you realize that there's another mountain, that it keeps going, that there's something else that you have to overcome. So instead of trying to get post anything, I think the question is, how do I find the better in now? And I think that has been one of the things that has really been instrumental for me, is recognizing that there's beauty in the messy middle. And if I keep moving the goalposts, then I'll never find peace. But if I dare to believe that there's peace somewhere here, then all I have to do is start searching for where it exists now. I just I just have gone through enough I mean, especially if you think about my life, like as a teen mother, I thought when I get married, then I'll be okay. And then I got married and I'm like, well, if he would do this, then I'll be okay. And if we do that, then I'll be okay. And then I left and I'm like, if I could get the house, then I'll be okay. Then I got the house and I met this incredible man. And it's like, okay, once I moved to LA, then like, it just kept moving. And so it dawned on me, this is all a part of the journey. It's all the messy middle. But I do believe that our lives can be scripted in cursive. And I say can be because a lot of times we miss out on how things can be woven together. We miss out on how all things can work together because we segment our lives. We try to leave some things behind. I'm going to pretend like that never happened. I'm going to become another person, not realizing that the beauty of our story is the full weight of our story. And so if we can collect all of our pieces and look at the present and say, okay, this is the wisdom I have, the experiences I have, how do I apply it to this moment? I have found that is the shovel that we use to find the beauty in the messy middle.
Sarah and Mrs. Jakes, it was a privilege to listen and to witness the two of you together. Mrs. Jakes, it sounds like the love that your daughter holds for you is boundless. Sarah, the admiration your mom holds for you, and the two of you being so just open about the journey and how it hasn't always been easy, so vulnerable about what we went through, the healing, the reconciliation, the learnings, the ministry, the sharing, that messy middle, that caterpillar emerging into that butterfly that inspires now millions around the world. And so thank you for sharing your legacy with all of our listeners and viewers. And thank you for sharing that legacy with the world.
And for allowing us a safe place to just share our hearts and take off the mask and be real. It's so important that we don't have to pretend. This is who we are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the
Thank
opportunity.
you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. New episodes drop every Tuesday with bonus content every Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment.